Today we are interviewing local author Teresa LaBella. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. First off, can you tell me a little bit about you and your book?
Okay, well, I'm living in Nova Scotia in Canada, which is where my Canadian husband and I relocated to about a year ago last August. Before that, we had lived in Iowa, my hometown is Davenport, Iowa, so that's where we had been and done quite a few different events and things like that around there to support promote my books, which at that time I was writing romance. So I wrote and published a series that started out, it was more like a family saga. The first book really was like a straight up romance. But it was older woman, younger man. There was like a 20-year age difference. So that one was set in New York City. And that was really very traditional romance. Boy meets girl, boy and girl aren't quite sure about each other because of the age difference and various other things, but they still end up together and live happily ever after. So then the second book took them to took him actually to rural Iowa, to the middle of Iowa, it was a fictional town called Harmony, which was funny because when we moved here, the first sign that we saw was "Welcome to Harmony." Apparently, the area that we're living in now, even though it's Caledonia, was at one time called Harmony Mills. So that was kind of funny. That that sort of brought it back. Yeah. But the town was supposed to be like around Central City, Iowa, which is close to like the Cedar Rapids area and that area. And it continued to play out where these two people met, because the woman who had been in the first book had passed away. So he, being a widower now, was just going to drive cross country. And he ended up meeting another woman, and he ended up staying in this little town in Iowa, and they had children. So that was their story. And the third book moved the saga then to the Scottish Highlands, where their oldest daughter relocated, and she then met the love of her life, and that became their happily ever after. So that was kind of fun. The fourth book that I published was a series of short stories, because I have these fun characters in Harmony, Iowa, and they just sort of had a really cameo sort of appearances through the books. So I took their stories and made short stories out of them, and so that became Tales from Harmony. And then I tacked on a novella, which was the story of the couple from the second book, their youngest daughter. Because my readers had said, gee, she was a real snot. And I was like, no, that's not what I wanted her to be. She was really kind of a girl who just sort of ended up in a bad situation. She was going into her senior year in high school and expecting things to be just wonderful, and then her father dies. So it really did shift away from romance, because romance, that's no, people aren't supposed to die in romances. So that's the reason why it became more of a family saga sort of thing. So I told her story, Rachel's story, in a novella called Love Unlikely, which was published separately as an ebook, as a novella, and then got included in the ebook and the paperback book of Tales from Harmony. So then, before we moved here, I started working on a romantic suspense novel that was supposed to be, and this is the one that just got released. So it was a long time in the making, because we were moving a long distance, 2,100 miles from Iowa to Canada. So things kind of got put, sort of on the back burner. But I started the book when I was in Iowa, and it started out, it was going to be a cozy mystery, kind of like the old Moonlighting series and Heart to Heart. So it became an international thriller, moved away from cozy mystery as I started to write the book, which authors will tell you that can happen. You have the intention of doing something and it turns into something completely different. It was really kind of based on the whole Me Too movement of women who were coming out and saying, yeah, I was also a victim, and I was a victim, and I was a victim. And what it was, the couple who's in this book, they're called the Unmatchables, and it's case number 1, danger noted. And what the Unmatchables are is that a couple who have been friends since college, and she's looking for a career change after she gets downsided out of a job. So they get together and they decide, hey, let's put together this detective private investigator sort of agency. And they're both losers in love. She's been married twice and divorced. He's been engaged like 3, 4 times and never made it to being married. So these two friends get together and put together this private investigator agency, and the unmatchables being people can come to them, and if they're in a relationship that looks too good to be true, and maybe like they can do a deep dive into the background of the person that's now their intended partner and see if maybe it is or maybe it isn't. Because they look at it saying, hey, we've been down this road so many times of not really making it in a home, being losers of love. Let's see if we can help other people so that they don't end up in the same sort of heartache and sort of thing that we did. So this man comes to them. And this is set in Chicago. So this gentleman comes to them and says, hey, I've been dating this woman. She's a cellist with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. She's beautiful. She's talented. She's been teaching my son cello. He loves her. He and his mother and I had this really bitter divorce, and I want to make sure that he doesn't go through the same kind of pain again. So they do this deep dive. And what ends up coming out of it is this conductor who is an international sort of celebrity who comes in as a guest conductor all over the world in Chicago. He's also a don't ask, don't tell, sort of takes advantage of young women who look at him as being this really this god almost, and he is a sexual predator. Oh. So all over the world, he's been pulling this off, and as these investigators start digging into this, things really heat up. Now you've got Chicago PD, you've got FBI, you've got Scotland Yard, you've got Interpol, all this involved in it because there's this big investigation that's been going on that they're sort of unearthing and getting in the middle of. And then there's also an assassin, because how does this conductor keep people from telling? Well, you threaten them or they go missing. So that's the premise of the book that just got released last week. It's up on paperback. It's also in Kindle. It's available on Amazon. But it's The Unmatchables, case number 1, Danger Noted. That's the one I just released. Since I've been up here, I've also written a political thriller, which has now just gone to the editor. And that one is set in Canada. It's set in Ottawa, in Canada's capital city. And it involves the attempted assassination of the Prime Minister. So, been busy. And I've been writing today, started on the second book in the Unmatchable series, which is going to be called Danger Revealed. And I've noticed that with my books, what I've been doing is I get these themes going, which I really didn't intend to, but I do. All the way from the romance novel, the first one, saying love is ageless when it's meant to be. So that's a theme of 20-year separation of age of these two lovers, to the Me Too movement, to really gun control, the political thriller that I've just written, or is now with the editors about. And the book 2 in the Unmatchables series is going to be about immigration and people who are exploited, illegals who come to the United States, because again, it's back in Chicago, who come to the United States hoping to be able to start a new life, and they get promised all kinds of things by shady folks who take their money and everything else and exploit them. So that's where I'm at. It's been fun. It's a fun journey, and you never know as an author where your stories and your characters are going to take you. That's a long answer, but
no, that's perfect. And you get lots to choose from to read now. Did you use the library in any process of writing any of your books?
Oh, yes. I mean, everything I've done has a lot of research to it. So yes, I did online things, but I also used library. The library was very instrumental to me, and not only in Davenport and other libraries all the way through Iowa and Illinois. I went to Sterling. I think we were up in Cedar Rapids. We went to Des Moines. We went to various places. These libraries were so open to letting us come in as indie authors. There would be a group of us. The Rock Island Public Library in Illinois, various places would let us come in and do days where we could, or afternoons where we could sit and have readers come to us, talk to us about our books. Quite a few libraries, I would then donate a copy of my book so that they would have that on the shelf. I'll be doing that again up here, the South Shore Library in. So libraries are so vital. I worked before I did all of this kind of craziness. I worked the learning campus in Bettendorf, Iowa, which is the Family Museum of Arts and Science and the Bettendorf Public Library. Looks like we stopped again. So, okay. Yeah, like I would say for one thing, what would always upset me is if I would be with authors and you'd ask them, well, "What are you reading?" "Well, I don't read, I write." No, you got to read. And I would say, I mean, I've got my stack of books sitting over here, right here, you know. Right now, Gravity of Birds by Tracy Guzman. There's another book that was written, The Gringo was written with, because now I'm doing something on immigration. Okay, well, this is people in Peru and various Latin American countries who also did move on that. Promise and Peril was the book that I pulled this one up. This was the book that I used when I did a lot of my research on Ottawa. So yeah, I mean, you have to use your libraries and you have to read as an author and readers. I mean, I don't know how many books. One of my ways of connecting with readers and marketing my books, quite frankly, and getting them out, is to join up with different book clubs and different both online Facebook kind of clubs and that sort of thing, but also physical clubs. Of course, some of that's been curtailed because of COVID. We can't really get together and discuss books anymore, but as soon as it lifts, we'll be back into it. So, and so many people can't afford to buy books, or maybe they don't want to take the chance of buying a book and have it sitting on the shelf, and I really didn't like this. Now what am I going to do with it? Hand it off to somebody else, or donate it, or wherever someplace. So the libraries are a great place to come and check things out, literally, and decide whether or not a genre, maybe you want to start reading a different genre, maybe you want to start finding out a new author, or maybe being able to read a series like a J.D. Robb series or something like that. Who wants to buy them? They don't want to buy 50-some books. Okay, well, you can go and find them at your library. So, incredible resource.
And we can get them if we don't have them.
That's right. And I loved the Davenport system, the Davenport Public Library system, even any of the systems in the Midwest were so great about that sort of thing. Hey, I'm looking for this book. Okay, be able to reach out and find them and bring it to you. So, I mean, one of the books I remember up here, it was the where the Crawdads Sing. So many people wanted to read that book, and do you really want to go out and buy it? Well, maybe not, but you're able to get it at the library. Okay, you can only keep it for a certain period of time because so many people want to read the book. But at least it's the opportunity that people have of being able to access the books that maybe they either can't afford or they don't want to buy. And even libraries now, you'll be able to, especially during COVID, I'm sure this was helpful to be able to download from the library onto a Kindle or another kind of e-reader and still be able to keep up with it. Yeah.
And we've had a lot of access with our digital collection lately. Yeah. We've been watching it grow. Like, we miss everyone, but we're glad that we can still get those items to you in a different way.
Yeah, and up here, and there's also in the States too, you have mobile libraries, which are great. I know in Scott County, they had a mobile library that for people who just couldn't get in from the really far reaches of rural areas. So that's another, and they do that here in Nova Scotia too, because we're very rural here. There are bigger cities, Halifax, and Halifax is about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours away from where we're at. So yeah, there are mobile libraries here too, and that's also a great resource for people to know that they can still have access to books without having to worry about traveling or even getting in to get the book back in because now don't want it to be late and that sort of thing. And also being able to get online and check out a book, maybe if they're going to have the opportunity to be able to renew it, so they can do that from home.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Yeah. And I know you had a challenge. Libraries had such a challenge too, checking the books out, but then what do you do with them during COVID? I know up here the problem was, well, we had to hang on to them for weeks, months, because, well, what are we gonna do with these when they come back? How do we clean them or whatever to be able to put them on the shelves?
Yep,
Get them
we
back
had
out.
to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been a challenging time.
But we're getting through this together.
Yes. Yes, we are. And eventually this too shall pass.
So where can our patrons get your books?
I'm almost exclusively on Amazon. I know it's the devil we don't necessarily want to dance with, but how much do we rely on Amazon for everything during so many things during COVID to be able to get things delivered to us? So yeah, you can go on Amazon. My website is storyteller, all one word, 3030.com. So you can go on the website and see what books are available and how you can. And I am on and have an Amazon page. I'm also on Goodreads. So if you want to go on there and look to see what's going on that way too. But that's the best way to access it. And
Perfect.
yeah, and there are a couple libraries that have my books. I'll probably be getting soon. I do print on demand. I'm an indie publisher. I'm with a small publisher. So I go through my publisher and get books too. So, and I have had people contacting me about wanting to have a signed copy of the book. And yeah, that's going to be a bit of a problem because it's expensive for the actual delivery if you want an actual book. But so many readers, I've noticed, I don't know whether you found this out too, that so many readers they appreciate having the ebook, the e-reader, especially folks that maybe don't want to have a whole bunch of stuff stuck on the shelves anymore, or they don't want if they used to be if you traveled a lot, it was a lot easier to take your e-reader with you than it was to be hauling books around. Older people, I've noticed that like maybe have arthritis, have problems with their neck and things like that, being able to hold the book. But still, overall, I've noticed so many readers still want to have that paper book in their hand. So yeah, I can get it. I can do signed copies. I can send them off to you, however you want to get it. I can get it through Kindle or Mobi or whatever format you want, PDFs. It's available.
Perfect. Well, we'll let our readers know how to get a hold of it. And I just want to thank you for taking time to join me today.
I want to thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm